So, Nicole, you were on Dr. Phil, and in that interview, you said you never felt more holy, sacred, or true after your nude photo shoot.
That is correct.
Holy?
Yes. It's like literally, as I peeled off my layers, and it was like literally me before God. No hiding, no shame, nothing. And I never felt more alive and connected to who I really am in that moment. And I got in my car afterwards and I bawled because I'm like, I found that this is how I was meant to live. I joke, but it's kind of serious. I was meant to take my clothes off. And my whole life I spent covering up being modest by someone else's prescription for me, when I found that the truest version of me is when there's nothing between me and God.
So you don't believe that God is the God of the Bible then?
No, I don't believe in the Bible anymore. Correct.
So who do you think God is? Like just some impersonal...
I don't know if there is a God. Maybe there is. Maybe there's not. I'm open.
So you're an atheist?
I'd say more agnostic.
Okay, and you also said in that video I saw, you said sex workers are typically the healthiest humans. Does that include the herpes and HPV?
You know, it's interesting that that's a stigma because most people, the common person who's not a sex worker, never gets tested. Versus sex workers get tested every single month or depending how active they are and are the most on top of their STIs. But there's nothing wrong with STIs. STIs are common. If you're a person who's having sex with another person, you're at risk of getting an STI. And so we have to drop the stigma that somehow it means you're gross or icky. It's just like we're all at risk for it. And it's just knowing that all STIs are manageable or curable and just get tested. It's not a problem.
I mean, no offense or anything, but I mean, I think herpes is disgusting.
You might have it. Most people carry herpes and don't even know.
You're talking about the HS1 virus, mouth herpes.
Yeah,
I'm talking like genital herpes.
Yeah,
yep.
I don't
most people
that.
don't have genital herpes.
They actually do the data. Most people do, and because it's asymptomatic majority of the time, and it often gets mistaken for a pimple. That people don't realize that they have it.
Herpes breakouts are much more severe.
Yeah,
some can be, but some can be just...
Sure, some people are asymptomatic. However, if you are symptomatic, my understanding and from the literature I've seen and what I've seen online,
it's mostly a scare tactic.
Some photographs.
It's part of the... I'm in the sex work community. We talk about STIs all the time. We're very educated. Versus the research that's passed around is to scare people like, this could happen to you, when it's often just a pimple. But people don't talk about that because that doesn't scare people away from sex and into abstinence.
Well, I think you're now on the opposite side of the propaganda because to conflate a herpes outbreak with just a pimple, I think there are people who have like pretty debilitating breakouts where they're in like severe pain. It can cause scarring. I mean,
that might be an extreme case, but again, majority are asymptomatic, never have a flare up. And then for most people outside of that, when you have a single flare up, it is the only time you'll ever have it.
Are we defending herpes? Like, I'm just...
Yeah, I'm trying to destigmatize people having STIs because we're making it sound like it's horrific and it's because you're sleeping with all these people. You can get it sleeping with one person and not even know.
Yeah, but if you sleep, sure. I actually knew a girl who the first time she ever had sex was a virgin, hooked up with this guy, she got herpes, right? Yeah. Tragic. That's pretty rare though, and I would say the more sexual partners you have, the greater likelihood you are to eventually get an STD.
And that's why you do protection. That's why you get tested. That's why you communicate up front. Do you want to use barriers? If so, what kind? There's all kinds of conversations, but I find people who are not in the sex work industry just sleep around and hope for the best and never get tested.
You said that, but that's not true. I don't sleep around a lot. Like, my body count's not high, but I get tested every time I have sex with anyone. Like,
everyone do that.
And
That's
also,
smart.
just because you're in the sex industry doesn't mean you're automatically going to catch something. I do OnlyFans, and I'm still only sleeping with my boyfriend. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't mean I'm sleeping around with other people just because I have an OnlyFans or I'm in the sex industry.
It's a common just misconception that if you do adult work, if you do OnlyFans, you sleep with everybody, you're accumulating STIs, but that's not true.
Sure, not necessarily. I mean, and I think sex work is kind of a...
vague term.
Like that's anywhere from like tasteful lingerie to being a street prostitute. Yeah. I think it's not a particularly helpful term, and I don't know if lumping these two groups of people really is doing them any favors. But when it comes to, like, for example, STDs, I would say that they have done studies, and my understanding is, like, for example, if you're doing traditional porn where you're doing a new scene with someone every every week, whatever, maybe I don't know the frequency that's average in the industry, but you are at a much greater risk, even with all the testing that they do, of getting HPV and getting herpes. So, and additionally, you said protection. You can get herpes even if you're wearing a condom.
Then you use dental dams.
Yeah, of course
It's
you can.
that it can be like on your hip, or like herpes breakout can be not on the shaft, or so you can still get herpes. And look, I'm not trying to get herpes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get that shit.
Don't have sex or use protection, and don't do it when someone's active.
Using protection does not preclude you from getting herpes.
So then be abstinent.
or take
to make
you away
your
from
choice.
getting ones like syphilis or things like that. Those can be transmitted as simply as me sharing the cup with you. Like, it's saliva. Like, you can kiss somebody and get an STD.
Sure.
It doesn't define you as a bad or doing something wrong or being icky or being gross. And another thing is in schools, all they tell you is sex, big red button. Wear a glove if you're going to press the big red button. Like, how is that going to teach anybody how to actually use protection? It's just telling kids, don't have sex. If you do have sex, wear a condom. And then just sending them out into the world, not giving them enough information at all whatsoever.
I don't know. Like, I think sexually transmitted diseases should kind of be stigmatized. Hot take.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree,
think
Brian.
it's
I got your
ideal.
back.
It's not
I've
ideal,
got
but
your
it
back,
shouldn't be.
bro.
I don't know.
add
Like,
to that one.
look,
I
if
don't
you
think it's ideal,
if
but
you have
it's not like you should
I mean,
put
people-
people
okay, hold
down
on,
for
hold on.
something, you know?
If you get an STD that's incurable, you shouldn't be like excommunicated. You shouldn't be excised from society. But like, you have to this idea of not stigmatizing it. I wouldn't like talk shit or be like, oh, look at that fucking herp derper. You know, I wouldn't say any shit like that. However, I don't even know what the terms are. However, like, if a girl disclosed to me that she had herpes, and I think most men would agree,
Yeah.
most men are going to be like,
fuck no.
I don't want to deal with it. And me personally, like, I think dating is hard enough as it is as a guy. Bro, I'm not trying to fucking, like, if I were to get herpes, bro, I'm gonna fucking be, that's an additional handicap. I don't know if any of you play golf. Bro, you're handicapping your shit if you get herpes. I'm just saying, it's hard enough as it is getting chicks. Like,
yeah, I mean, the STI rate
unless you're Justin Waller.
STI rates have just spiked more and more, that people think hookup culture is okay, and, you know, having sex before marriage or having sex with multiple people is okay. So I don't know, it's really sad actually, because we could solve that with deciding not to just have sex with multiple people.
But
I mean,
he just
there
said a
is
woman had
solution
sex
to it.
one time and she got STI. So there's no 100%
had-
full proof that you cannot get an STI.
It's
and again,
possible.
Yeah, but
But you
it's
can
possible.
lower. You can lower
you
the
can get it
possibility.
having sex one time, but again, this goes back to the point that I was making earlier in the conversation. What would happen to society if everybody had the same values?
Who
that
cares?
You did?
If-
Who cares?
if someone-
I care as a
then don't
member
have
of
sex.
society.
Don't have sex.
I'm
If I want to have sex
already
with people,
being abstinent, but my point is,
Great.
you're advocating for, like, hey, everybody just fuck whoever you want.
I
Don't
didn't
care
say
about the
that.
STIs. Everybody would just
I
get
didn't say that.
everybody would get diseases. Like, that's what you're proposing
I
here,
love
essentially.
that you project that. I'm just saying.
You're saying we should
people-
destigmatize it, and
Yeah.
society would run fine if everybody had these beliefs, but it
If
wouldn't.
you let me finish, I can tell you what I would say is that
I've been
people get to
listening.
choose the risk they're willing to take. So if you want no risk, choose abstinence. If you want some risk, you're going to choose some sexual activity. If you're fine with more risk, you're going to expose yourself. Like, there's no one right or wrong when it comes to risk. It's knowing your risk tolerance and making informed decisions. And then if you are sexually active, get tested regularly.
Can I
There's nothing
ask
whole
you
with that.
something? I mean,
yeah.
hold on. Go ahead.
So
Let-
happy.
But you're happy with everything you're doing.
Yes. I've never been happier.
So you don't feel like there's nothing wrong.
No, I used to feel like something was wrong before, kind of like what Justin was saying, before I finally honored the fullness of who I am. When I kept trying to be monogamous, when I kept trying to lower my sexual libido, when I kept trying to be who everyone else told me should be as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, I was miserable. When I finally got clear on who do I want to be as a person, as a woman, as a partner, as a mother, my happiness went through the roof.
I think if everybody lived in a way where they were honoring the fullness of who they are, we would have a disease-ridden society.